If you're going to only learn one thing about human design, know that there is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you.
Welcome to Golden Girl, a space where we dive deep into health, healing, connection, and community. I'm your host, Becca Golden, and this podcast is all about sharing and documenting my journey. Each episode, we'll discuss topics like health and wellness, what I'm learning in therapy, work-life balance, relationships, community, and all the ways I strive for more aliveness and presence every day. Let's dive in. Helena, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you here.
Thanks. I've been wanting to be on your podcast for a long time.
I'm honored. To start, can you just tell us who you are, a little bit about you, your background?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm Helena. Who I am a sacral oracle. So I'm a sexual psychic. So I'm a psychic who receives all of my information from the sexual energy and energy centers in my body. And so a great theme of my life and my work is helping people be re-empowered sexually from the sacral, from their life force energy, from their vitality, and helping men and women understand how to relate to each other with more harmony and peace. Yeah.
That was perfect.
Okay, good. I'm kind of working on that, the branding aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. That was something that you and I both bonded over the first time we met.
Yeah.
The first time we met was at a sisterhood circle, and you were talking about making sense of the masculine and the feminine, and you were in a corporate job. I was in a corporate job. I was trying to understand my masculine and feminine balance.
Yeah.
And we talked about the duality of it and holding that with identity. It sounds like that's related to this.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we all have an inner masculine and an inner feminine, no matter what gender or body we're in. And the integration of the two is where we're at our fullest power. And I think it's like a spectrum, like many things, right? Where sometimes we're swinging over to the masculine or we're swinging over to the feminine. And I think the conditioning is that we are best when we're at one end of the spectrum or not. And the reality is we need to have a balance. But that balance, I think, looks different for everyone. All of my work is rooted in past life theory. And so the idea is our soul has chosen to be reincarnated in this life, in this time, in this place, in this body. And based on our past life stories and the karma we're bringing into our life, we often have tendencies to be more in a masculine or feminine energy. And then there's often a medicine for us to soften or to refine or to explore more of those areas. And that's carried over from who we were in our past life story. And so I find that, yes, there's the polarity work that's so popular right now. And then there's also, I think, the extra layer of my work, which gives it more depth and meaning, is that past life story.
How did you first begin to incorporate past lives work into your offerings?
Past lives are an integral part of my own healing. So I grew up and I had the worst anxiety since I was a child. My earliest childhood memories, I'm just so anxious, like my stomach is in knots. And I used to be just under constant chronic stress. I was aware, but so frustrated of the fact that I was making a lot of choices that was bringing it onto myself. And I was doing all this therapy and I would meditate every day and I tried to drink less caffeine and I was prescribed an anti-anxiety medication for a while and I tried all these different things and I still could not find a shred of peace. And I realized I've been an intuitive since I was a child, so I was already working with my guides and the angels and doing all that stuff. But what I realized, the missing piece is you can do all the therapy you want in this life. You can do whatever you can to heal your trauma from this life or whatever it is. But if you don't know and understand your past life story and the impact that it's having on your physical body and your psyche in this life, you'll never fully heal. And for me, being able to regress, go back, understand, talk to the parts of myself, have a relationship and understand my past lives was the catalyst to my finding peace and healing in this life. And past lives help me to find meaning in the suffering of this life for myself and others. And I think that for me has been the greatest helper in living in this story, in this dimension, in this body. And then it also becomes extremely empowering because now I understand what my real motivations are behind things. I understand why I'm trapped in certain patterns, or I was. I understand why I'm inclined to be pulled towards certain people. It really just is the most validating thing you can do for yourself to begin to understand the past lives and to clarify, time is not linear anyway, right? It's like a giant hologram is how I think of it. So when we say past lives, we're also talking about alternate dimensions, future, alternate realities, things that are happening simultaneously at the same time as now. So it's not necessarily always, 100 years ago, I was this person,
So theoretically, would there be multiple versions of this version of you right now simultaneously also healing their past lives trauma?
I think so in theory, yes. I don't admit to understanding all of that. That's that's like the quantum physics black hole. I mean, there are people who I think they really look into that. And I don't even try to understand. Like, I don't really care to understand at that detail. I think I know what I've experienced, just from my own journeys and from my own regressions. And psychically, like, I'm able to open up and go back really whenever I'd like to past life. When I started, I had people guide me, and now it's not really a choice. Like, I'll often have something awaken a past life part of me in the day-to-day, and I'll just get this clarity, or I'll be kind of like in a vortex for a few days and be having a remembrance.
Do you have an example of a time that's happened?
Yeah, last summer, I think I had the most intense one of my life. I was reading a book, and something in the book essentially triggered it, where I just completely related. The book took place at a period in history. It was like historical fiction, but it was based on a very true story, a very significant point of American history, and for a group of people that were impacted culturally. And I was reading the book, and it was like it put me in a trance. Like, I finished the book and I just sat there, and it was like I just completely remembered, and it made so much sense. But it was very scary. It was kind of like my worst fear come to life, because I used to have a lot of fears about being open intuitively. I used to have a lot of fear that, like, I would get stuck on the other side, or that I would lose myself. So this was pretty close to that. So I basically spent 3 days between the floor of my kitchen in the fetal position and in my bed and in a bath. And like, I couldn't function because I was so confused and stuck on if I was in this life or if I was in that past life, because I was remembering it so strongly. And I kept having all these thoughts in my head, like, so in this past life, I died of this health condition. And so I kept thinking that, like, I needed to tell my friends that I was about to die. And I kept like grabbing my body and just being like, oh my God, it was like the most terrifying feeling. Like, I literally kept, like, it was like every few minutes I would come in and out of this consciousness of being in this dream of this past life that felt so real. So, I was able to come out of it and find meaning in it and find peace in it and process it. And I think facing that fear was really great for me, because now I'm not afraid of these past lives. So then, recently, a couple months ago, I was dating someone, and I was in the shower, and usually for me, water is what activates me psychically. And I just saw and knew and felt in my body how we knew each other in our past life, and how the tragedy that separated us. And I just started sobbing in the shower. I was like, oh my God, it's just so painful.
This was a partner you had in this life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, someone I was dating in this life, yeah.
You had a relationship with that same,
yes,
I guess, is it person?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That same person in a past life as well.
Yes. Yeah. And
is that common to run into the same people in your past life circles?
Yeah, it's not even common. It's always. We have soul families, soul contracts. So no one in our life is in our life at random at all. Even random people that stop and talk to you at a coffee shop, maybe you didn't have an intense relationship with them in a past life, but they were somehow in the same lifetime, in the same orbit, in the same story that you're in. And when we're in a real, intense, serious, meaningful relationship with someone, I mean, 9 times out of 10, we're continuing a soul contract. So you left that life with them and there was some kind of unfinished business, or there was some kind of debt to be paid, or some kind of power imbalance, or something that you just, I mean, it doesn't have to be bad either, but your souls have already made contact. This is not up to you. And you are meant to find each other. Your spirit guides are working to bring you back to that person in this life. And then you have free will, right? You can decide. I've done this many times. I've had a man or a lover come into my life and I'm like, okay, it's very clear to me how we knew each other in a past life and what the story is, what the work is, the unfinished business. Here we are again. This is my opportunity and chance to use my free will and decide, am I going to resolve this? Am I going to stay stuck in this pattern due to lack of awareness or ego? Am I going to choose to end this, to find resolution with you, to let you go, to cut a cord or an energetic attachment? There's different prayers and things you can do with that. And I often speak to myself and to people I work with, clients, the mantra is, okay, that was that life. Now this is this lifetime. In this lifetime, I am X. This is my life. This is my choice. This is what I want. You don't have to re-engage with that person the same way. You do have free will. Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to us about your upbringing? You said that when you were a child, you knew that you were intuitive. What did that feel like? You said you were in touch with your guides at that age. How did you know?
That's a great question. First of all, most of us are highly intuitive as children or highly sensitive. And most of us don't have the environment or the adults in our life or the guidance to learn to work with those skills, deepen that trust. And we are conditioned, especially with fear, and told that those powers are dangerous and the people who love us want to keep us safe. So they tell us to be smaller, or they tell us to not be so sensitive, or they just don't understand or know what we need. And that was definitely my experience. And I would say children who grew up like me and who are intuitive adults, it's like I was always told, you're too sensitive, stop crying. It's the sensitivity is a big part of it. And then children who are creative and imaginative, who have a lot to say, who want to express. I've taught past life workshops and worked with people. And the question people always ask is, how do I know what my past lives are? And I say, well, tell me about yourself as a child. Like, what were you obsessed with? When you played pretend, what did you pretend to be? Like, were you a pirate? Were you an astronaut? That's probably your past life. That's what people don't realize. I mean, I had recurring dreams as a child of this world and this character I was, and the same people were always in the dreams. And now I look back and I'm like, that was literally me just remembering my past lives. And then when I learned evolutionary astrology and when I learned these other tools to gather data about past lives and who I was, I'm seeing the same stories on paper in the chart that I was dreaming as a child. It's all the same thing. So I just have all these experiences and things that when I was growing up, I didn't understand, that felt uncomfortable and felt scary and felt confusing and frustrating. And now when I can look back, I'm like, oh my God, I know exactly what that was. I was having a past life remembrance, or I was connecting to a spirit, or I mean, it's like, it's just so obvious now. And so I wish I could just go back in time and be the guide that I wish I had. Actually, this is something I have this vision. I would so like to do this. I would love to teach classes to children, psychic classes, and help them open. I would love to just do something to nurture children's intuition and connection to spirit like that. Mm-hmm.
Something like that would have been so powerful for me as a child.
Yeah.
This is something that we also bonded over when we first met, was being highly sensitive children. And the fact that our parents would say, stop crying, you're too sensitive, you're always crying.
Yeah.
And just the fact that the world felt so overwhelming and scary because there was so much going on. There's so much stimulation and we're so sensitive to all of it.
Yeah, and we still are. That's the thing. And I say this all the time. I'm like, it's actually not that certain people are sensitive and certain people aren't. We're all hypersensitive, but we've been desensitized to ourselves and our bodies and all this stuff. So this is an example. I'm like dealing with this today because I didn't sleep as much last night. So I have this thing. This is also in my human design. But I turn off like the minute the sun goes down. Like I am not a late night person. I never have been. When I was a little girl, I was the exact same way. I've been this way my entire life. Like the minute it gets dark outside, I start to fall apart. Like not just like I'm tired physically, like I can't regulate my emotions. Everything gets bigger and harder, and whatever problems from that day are like looming over my head. I often will like accidentally injure myself because I can't, I'm like, I like am like uncontained. Like I can't do cognitive tasks. I just start to fall apart. And so luckily that's something that my parents and the adults in my life did know like growing up, and they helped me establish. They'd be like, all right, Helena, like you need to go to bed. It was just like, it's just time, just go to bed. And my mom used to be like, she'd be like, Helena, everything will be better in the morning. That was what she would always say. I would have emotional breakdowns like all the time, like every night, like for no reason, just cry. Now it wasn't for no reason. It was all the emotions and the energies I had picked up all day. And I didn't have psychic hygiene. So I didn't know how to release the energy, which is something that I can do. We can talk about that I do now as an adult. But like, I like would fall apart.
This is not something we have in common as children then, because from the day I was born, as a 5-year-old even, I was such a night owl.
Really?
I would stay up all night. My parents would come in my room and be like, Rebecca, you need to go to bed.
Oh.
They would find me under my covers with a flashlight, reading a book. I would always be such a night owl. I wanted to be up all night. They could not get me to go to sleep.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's probably in your chart too.
You mentioned that this is in your human design. Can you tell us what human design means?
Yes, I will. Let me finish the first thought, which is, okay, so now as an adult, I'm 29 years old. I'm almost 30 years old, and I still fall apart when it gets dark out. I didn't grow out of it. It never went away. So something that I've had to practice is this understanding that like I need like 10 hours of sleep a night. And it's something I'm really focusing right now in my life. And it's like, the conditioning is that I need to sacrifice sleep for other things, that it's like lame to not be able to hang out late at night, go to concerts, whatever. Like I can do that sometimes, but I have to plan for it. Like there's a lot that goes around that. And so what I've noticed is as an adult, people who love me, people I've been in relationships with, people know, it's not even that they like know and understand that I'm going to leave or that I need to go to bed early. It's that they're like, is it time for you to go home? Like they're like helping me. And so I guess the point, it's like, to me, things like that the conditioning is there's something wrong with us, or that we don't fit in, or that we're too sensitive, we're too much. If you have traits like that, you're likely very intuitive and open energetically. And when you start to live your life and have boundaries and lean into all of that in a way that's supportive to you, you actually start receiving more. And you start to really have a greater channel to the divine, to the other side. And you asked about human design. Human design is an esoteric, non-secular system.
What does esoteric mean?
Esoteric is just the gray word. It's just something that's very niche and specific and not of this world, like something eccentric and like spiritual in a way. It's studying something that is very kind of new age, might be how they like what they call it. But yeah,
non-secular meaning
non-secular
not
means
religious.
not religious, right? And so I want to call that out. Okay, so first of all, 99% of what's out there in regards to human design is so unhelpful and is so misconstrued from the way human design was originally taught and is meant to be used. Human design is a data system. It's an information system. We use our time of birth, date of birth, place in the world where we were born, and we create a chart that maps that data to where the planets were in the sky, the astrological transits, in a synthesis with the ancient Chinese text, the I Ching, and the 64 hexagrams that are a part of that text, as well as some quantum physics, quantum mechanics of the way that energy is moving through our body in relation to ourself and the other. This sounds like a lot. Maybe it's not concrete. It's all synthesized together on a chart that is mathematically calculated. Okay. So that is what the human design chart is. That's what we're talking about when we say your chart, your data. This is where we're getting this information. Now, 99% of what you see out there for human design is absolute bullshit, is taught incorrectly, and is misconstrued from the way it was originally meant to be taught and from the purpose of the system in our lives. Human design, first of all, is not a belief system, and many people are using it as a belief system. I fell into that trap at one time when I first started. It is non-secular, it's non-religious. Actually, the original man who channeled human design didn't believe in souls. He was an atheist. Okay? So a lot of people are trying to use it as like a spiritual belief system. Okay? You're going to go and you're going to Google human design, all this stuff is going to come up. And it's just not helpful, and it's just not the way that it's meant to be used. The way that I teach and know human design, the correct way, there are very few people on this earth that are practicing human design in this way. It is a system of conscious relating. It is a system of self-awareness so that I can be so aware of myself and the way the energy is moving through my body in relation to the other, that then I can take social responsibility for the way that I show up in my life and the way that I impact others. And then I am therefore more aware of how I am meant to be showing up in the world in who I really am, in my authentic self and my authentic energy. Human design is incorrectly marketed as a decision-making system. It is not a decision-making system. That's what 90% of these teachers are trying to tell you. That's wrong. It's not a decision-making system. It is a system of self-awareness and then therefore conscious relating. If you Google it, all this stuff will come up about types, okay, and authority. If you've been to a class or gotten a reading, you probably heard that, right? Well, the whole point of human design is to decondition yourself, to come back to who you really are, to liberate and expand yourself, not to be further conditioned. All those types, all that stuff out there, that's just giving you labels. That's just telling you more labels about yourself, and then you're putting yourself into a box. Okay? And then, like many things, human design started out as a pure teaching, a system, and then like many organizations that grew, people's ego got involved. People wanted to make money. So they started adding things to it and creating these classes and these levels and these certifications. People introduced all these extra layers to it in order to market it in certain ways and make money. And therefore, it has been distorted from its original form. And now it's just being used as another way to have a class system or to say you should be a certain way. And then, the most popular thing is they say you should be living your design. So now you have a belief system that if I'm not doing certain things, I'm not living my design correctly. The whole point of human design is to be free from the idea that you should be a certain way.
So you talked to us about what human design isn't.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about what it is and maybe an example of how you use it to interact with the other?
Okay, yes. So the way that I teach human design is it's a system of self-awareness. So it gives you data points about yourself and the way that your energy uniquely flows through your body and the different energy centers of your body in relationship to yourself, the chakra centers, the energy centers. They connect through things we call channels. The energy is activated at certain parts of the body through what we call gates. Those are in alignment with certain astrological planetary transits. All of this is coming together to paint a picture, a visual of the way that your energy is uniquely designed to flow through your body, then in and out of your body with the yin and yang relationship to you, yourself, and the other. Like right now, we're in a one-on-one dynamic. Our auras are interacting with each other. Consciously and unconsciously, the energy of our body is impacting each other. Okay? So a great example of this, we have what we call open centers and closed centers, energy centers, the yin and the yang. Okay? So this is so much about what's normally mistaught. So I have an open emotional center. What that means is anywhere we're open in human design, we are amplifying, we're taking in the energy of others around us and the collective. We cannot control or turn that off. So we have to learn how to have energy boundaries around that. We have to learn how to decondition that part of ourselves so that we aren't taking in the suffering, the stories, the energetic patterns. So for example, for the emotional center, my mantra is, that's not my emotion. A lot of people with an open emotional center identify as an introvert. I don't really use those words very much, but that's how they might identify. Then they're at a party, they pick up on all this emotion. If everyone's really happy in the room, whoa, now I'm really happy and lifted. If everyone's really down, like, damn, I'm really sad about whatever. You come home, you sit in your house alone, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't actually feel that bad anymore. That's because those emotions were not yours that you were feeling. It doesn't mean you don't have emotion, you don't feel emotion, but most of the emotion in your emotional energy center is an amplification of what you're taking in. Okay? And so then what does that mean? It means you have those energy boundaries, you have that awareness, because where you're open, you're vulnerable.
So this is an example of other areas within your body where you could be open or closed. Is it open or closed?
Yes. Yeah, open or closed, defined or undefined is the words we use.
Okay. So if you're open in another area, theoretically, that just means that you're taking in the inputs from others around you.
Mm-hmm.
And
you're yin, you're in a yin energy. Yep. You're receiving, and where you're open, you're amplifying. And you're also vulnerable. So this is when I have clients and I do readings, I'm looking at where is their vulnerability in their chart? Where are their blind spots? Now you can have a defined energy center and absolutely be vulnerable and limited and have issues there. But what mostly I'm looking at as a priority, I'm looking at where is this person open and vulnerable. Okay, but now here's what most of human design misses. Here's a second layer. Here's the important part. Now that I know I'm open there, I'm going to start thinking about, well, who am I surrounded with in my life? Do they have defined emotional centers or not? Are they yin or yang in that place? So now, say I'm with a partner, and that partner, statistically, they're likely going to be a defined emotional center, a closed, full emotional center, because we attract what we are not. Yes, like attracts like, but our yin and yang, they meet. That's what we look for in partnership, and our bodies are subconsciously attracting based on the system of human design. So now I've got this emotional partner. I'm taking in all their emotions all the time. So they better be healthy. They better be good for me. They probably are, which is probably why I'm with them. Now, let's say the roles are flipped. Maybe I'm an emotional person. I have a defined emotional center. This is the solar plexus, the emotional center. Okay.
Defined meaning closed, not open, not receiving.
Yep. Yang, giving, penetrative. Okay. So now I'm defined. Say you're not. I don't remember what you are, actually. I think you might actually maybe be emotional. It's okay. I can look up. But so now we're sitting across from each other. Okay. So now say you're undefined and I'm defined. I'm yang and you're yin. I now have a social responsibility to take care of you because I know that I'm going to affect you with my emotions. Now, I'm not saying like, don't be fully expressed and hide parts of yourself and hold this emotional load like, oh, I can't be in my full emotion with my friend. That's not what this is. But the beauty of learning human design is now I start to know not only how my energy affects me and my experience, but now I start to know how I influence and affect and impact the people in my life. And now actually, when I have more awareness around that, I become a lot more powerful. And so now I'm like, okay, I know that if I'm in a bad, dysregulated emotional place, I don't necessarily want to bring that to Becca if I have a choice. Or I can learn different ways that I can like relate to you when I'm in that place that are more symbiotic, healing, empowering for both of us. And then if I am in a really good emotional space, I can be aware that that's something that I bring to our friendship and relationship. When you're around me, I really have a lot of power to completely lift and transform you emotionally and make you feel really good about yourself. Now, wouldn't that be great if maybe I'm in sales and I'm trying to sell you something? Now you start to use the chart to understand where your strengths and weaknesses are in your life. It's not even weaknesses, where your strengths and vulnerabilities are, where your limitations and your natural energy comes from. Those are related as well. So that's kind of how you start to integrate the chart. It's about how you show up, how you choose to show up, and how you show up without consciously realizing it. I think for me, human design changed my life in two ways. I always tell people, if you're going to only learn one thing about human design, know that there is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. anytime you think you should be doing something, or why am I not like someone else? Why am I not like everyone else? Why am I getting frustrated? This isn't working out for me, whatever negative emotion you're feeling. It's because you're coming from a place of ego, of not self, of conditioning, of that's not who you really are. Human design brings you back to who you really are, and it tells you there's nothing wrong with you in that place. And it also helps me to understand the impact that my energy has on others that I am not conscious of on a day-to-day basis. Now that I'm aware of that and attuned to that, and I do start to see that play out, that has helped me step into my power. Mm-hmm.
That seems really powerful in relationships, especially romantic relationships.
Yes.
But it's also, now I'm thinking about the past times that you and I have tried to hang out, like the last, 6 times where one of us wasn't feeling it. And we're like, let's just not do this. I'm not in a good mood and I don't want you to be around me when I'm not in a good mood. And we talked about how we know that the other is a safe space.
Yes.
But it's interesting because we don't remember what my human design is in this regard. And it actually would probably help us make more informed decisions about our friendship and the time we spend together if we looked into... We've looked at mine before, but if we remembered what it was, we could actually use that to better steer the time we spend together.
Yeah, and there's people in my life who I know, for example, on this example with the solar plexus, I know that they're emotional. I know they have a defined solar plexus emotional center. And I know how draining and miserable I can feel after hanging out with them when they are unconsciously in a bad emotional space, or in a space emotionally that even if they're happy, it's just too much energy for me. Like it's too much, it's too draining. Or like maybe I love to be around them, but like that's the only social interaction I can handle that day if I'm going to hang out with them. Like they still are empowering and fun to be around, but like it's just a lot of energy because I'm so open and yin there. And so then it's like I have that awareness with those friends. And for me, that helps me find meaning and understanding. And I can be like, no, I definitely still want to be friends with them. It's just like I know what my limits and boundaries are, not necessarily with them, but it's just with people that are in that energy. I understand myself better. I understand how I receive and interact with that energy. Now I can have better boundaries and understanding of how I'm showing up with other people in my life. I've also learned to see patterns. Every single friend that I've lost during my Saturn return in the last 2 to 3 years of my life has had a very similar chart. Was an emotional a person with a defined emotional center and defined solar plexus who was very unhealthy in that area, who couldn't handle conflict, who couldn't handle confrontation, who couldn't they just weren't able to have a healthy relationship to their emotions and to mine. And they exited my life.
And to be clear, the human design doesn't define whether someone is good or bad in that area. It's just whether they're giving the energy or receiving the energy.
Yes, absolutely. I can't look at your chart and tell you how you're living it out.
Right. So these friends of yours, they just happen to not be very regulated in that area, but that had nothing to do with their human design chart. The human design chart was defining the way they give out that energy or receive it. And in that case, it was giving it out.
The human design chart is like a blueprint. Right? It's this is your imprinting. This is what you've got. This is what you're born with. We have free will, right? I believe we have free will. I teach we have free will, right? So then it's like, it's really your level of awareness, self-awareness, your level of consciousness, conscious relating. It's like, how are you? Yeah, I mean, you could have I know 2 people, right, with a very, very similar chart. Although they are very similar, one person has been very successful in their life and the other one hasn't.
Yeah.
And I think about that all the time when I'm studying and when I'm teaching. And it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, we could go down the rabbit hole of compatibility. People are like, am I compatible with this person? I'm like, no. We're not even going to use the word compatible. I can tell you how many electromagnetic connections are between you two. That's what we look at in the charts. I can tell you how you would experience this. There's a lot I can tell you by the charts that would fall under this umbrella of like compatibility. But at the end of the day, you could have a chart that seems to be very compatible, activated, like there's a lot going on between you two, but that does not mean you're going to be in a healthy relationship with that person. So yeah, that's why I feel like human design appeals to a lot of people who are more, which is the brain that's engineering, right or left?
That's left.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I think it appeals to people who are more left-brained because it is more of a data system, and then you interpret on top of that. But a lot of people are teaching it differently, and it's not meant to be taught that way. It's meant to be a lot more objective.
I think it'd be really cool to do a whole episode on human design.
I do too.
Alone.
Yeah.
I think it sounds so powerful.
Yeah.
And I really think most people haven't heard of it.
Yeah. There's been this popular, like a surge of it over the last years. It's really popularized. And it's similar to like pop astrology where people are like, oh, like, what's your sign? What's your horoscope? And I'm like, no. Like, that's not what this is. Yeah, I would love, that'd be really cool. That would be a great episode just to talk about. I mean, really, it's Zen human design I learned the original system, or like the popular way, right? The Jovian way. And then I was introduced to the Zen human design teachings. But now I have my own blend. I think now it's like what I teach. So I wouldn't even like if we did that, but like I wouldn't even use those names. This is what I'm working on, is like building my confidence in just my own brand and just doing things my way.
I love watching you do things your way. I've attended your classes in person. Yeah. We've had a one-on-one session. Yeah. I am in awe of all of the ways that you embody the different versions of yourself that you become every day. And it's really amazing to be a part of your life.
Thank you.
So I'm honored that you came on the podcast for this informal episode, but I do want to do a full episode on Helena's version of human design.
Let's do that.
Especially because so many people are getting it wrong out there right now. So that sounds like an important one to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, to wrap up this one, if anyone's interested in working with you directly or attending one of your workshops, how can people get in touch with you?
Yes, I'm on Instagram at Helena Herndon and my website, helenaherndon.com. I offer one-on-one sessions, sacral oracle coaching sessions, sacral empowerment, and then I do human design readings. I do soul contract readings, which are you and a partner, you and a friend, the duality of a relationship, look at both your charts together. And I teach workshops and classes in Austin and host events as well. Oh, and I have downloadable meditations that teach my sex magic. One of my meditations is actually, this is the one that's free on my website. So if you go to my website, you can sign up and get a free psychic meditation to help you meet your spirit guides and start working with your own psychic channel and meeting the angels and guides who are helping you in this life psychically.
And for the one-on-one sessions that you do, are some of them virtual?
Yeah, I do plenty of virtual ones if you're not in Austin. And if you're in Austin, we can likely be in person.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.